So, for the Torah portion this week, Ba'alotecha, just so you know, it's my bar mitzvah Torah portion. So I thought I'd go through all of that again with you, just for a little nostalgia. I found the Devar Torah. It was on the Haftarah. My rabbi wrote it for me. I guess I wasn't so insightful at 13 yet, or at all. But so Ba'alotecha was one of these Torah portions I think that I've never really understood. I guess that's why the rabbi wrote it. In any case, I hope that we can find a connection to it more so than when I was 13. And I think that there's a couple of things in here that are really quite powerful for us, for today, for our day and age. And I'm looking over in the corner as you're kind of bouncing with this beautiful new baby and all of these wonderful things, and I'm thinking about that even for myself. You know, my kids two are in college, and they've been home for a while. One is back at camp in New York as a counselor, but they all have their lives. And as I was reading some of this, I was thinking about what it's like when they were really little and growing up and trying to raise these kids without any manuals, anybody giving to me, and how much of a struggle that was. And there were times where you're trying to figure out a good lesson for them. And I remember so clearly, are we going to be, in one moment or another, a little bit on the stricter side, or going to let it kind of pass? Do we give them a do-over or try and teach them a life lesson? And I think so many people are kind of telling us, when we were kind of in these early years of parenting, it should really be, teach them now, they'll be resilient later. Whatever. The thing that was really most significant, though, is this sense of how sometimes we think that a do-over could be bad. And we see something like a do-over in our text. Or, if we're not talking about little kids, we get second chances. We get 10th chances. We, I think, in our culture feel like it's less, or it's weak, or it's a problem if we, by chance, have another chance to try and make things right. Or if not that we've committed a wrong, maybe we can make things better. Maybe we have an opportunity to find some growth if we pursue something, but perhaps a little bit differently. And the older I get, the more that's resonating, to try and figure out how to be better and how to grow. So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on in the text in Ba'alotecha. At the end, in the book of Numbers, they've reached the land. They've made it there. They're not 40 years into the story yet, but they've made it. But because they're not so faithful, let's say, they're not trusting in God when they go and visit and scout out the land, they have a much longer wait. But these are the folks that still experience slavery. And they experienced also liberation. It's not their kids, it's the survivors themselves. And they're kind of right at the cusp of having this incredible experience. And in the very beginning, it says that they should follow the laws of Pesach, because Pesach, Passover, is this incredible spiritual experience about their liberation. For us, it's trying to take on memory. But for them, it was just last year. They just got out. And Passover is so important. They see it as being part of something as a national existence. It's really very powerful. But then something really interesting happens a little bit later on. We see in the text that there are some folks that can't observe Passover. And by the way, for them, it wasn't Seder, and it wasn't gefilte fish. Nobody should eat gefilte fish. It wasn't, we talked about that. It was about the sacrifice. It was the Paschal Lamb, right? It was that moment at a certain time of a certain day of coming together and sharing a sacrifice. That was Passover for them. And of course, matzah was already part of the laws. Matzah was already on the books. But then there are some people that don't have access, because there are some things that can happen in your life where you're not allowed to observe or participate in the sacrifice of the Paschal Lamb, of the Pesach, during Passover. There's some sort of impurity, such as if you come close to someone who has died, if you touch a corpse. So that's one. Or if you're far away, if you're on a long journey and you can't make it back home, because all of this is done in a tribal kind of a way. You have to be with people. And so some of these people who have had those experiences, they go to Moses and they say, we want an opportunity to participate in this. They don't say it about the other festival days. It's not happening for other holy days or special occasions, just about Passover. I missed it. I couldn't do it. I was taking care of somebody who died. I wasn't able to do it. We want a second chance. So Moses says, stand by. Quite literally, it's stand by. Please hold. Let me go and check with God. And so Moses calls up his boss and finds out, is this kosher? Can we do this? And it turns out that in the Torah's text, it says, okay, God says for these people, in another month, in all of the same way, they can observe Passover if they missed it from the first time around. Now, they're very technical about it in the Torah. It's not, you were taking a phone call. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't casual missing. It was either because of impurity or because you were far away. And the way people understand far away is meaning they were in a distance and they couldn't come back to the tribe. So right there and then, I find this flexibility that people think about when it comes to a traditional Judaism, a traditional approach to Judaism. It's not always so flexible. It's not always so easygoing. I'm reformed because of X, Y, or Z. Well, I think that we see embedded in our text a type of flexibility for the things that matter. Now, that's not to say reform is the right approach. It's the right approach for me, and I actually think it's a very rigorous kind of approach. But here we have this second chance for somebody that was not able to participate. And then, where it says in verse 10, there's a translation that says specifically why somebody couldn't participate. And I already said to you, because of an impurity or because they were on a journey. But the Hebrew doesn't really mean on a long journey. The Hebrew just means that they were far. In fact, in the Torah, on the word for far away, rechokah, at the end there's a hey, a letter, a hey, and above the hey is going to be a dot. We don't have a lot of dots in the Torah. So what's so special about this word or about this idea that far away? Most people are going to understand the context of that they're far away from home, but the rabbis are going to go deeper and they're saying it's not just about being far away in distance physically. It's going to be far away in some other way from God. Maybe they're still at home, maybe still in their house, maybe with their family in their tribe, but there could be a distance from God that we feel. There could be some kind of hardship. And so there's a second chance for people who feel maybe they're in some other kind of spiritual exile, but they want to do it. They want their chance. It's not like they don't. So what can that say to us? I think that we encounter a lot of people around here who feel kind of distant from faith, from tradition, from God, name it. We talk about it a lot. And there's lots of reasons why that might happen. But they're still around, and you still come around, and you're part of a Jewish community, and there's something that we are seeking to fill us up. That can help us to grow. Now, I think there's a lot of things that can fill us up very temporarily and aren't necessarily good for us. But if we can find a path, if we can say, I maybe didn't have this experience when I was younger, but I'm ready now. I'm at a time of my life where I'm ready now to open myself up, be a little bit vulnerable, perhaps more vulnerable than I've ever been, and try and see what Judaism and Jewish community and God and Har Hashem or other synagogues, what it can do so that I can walk in God's ways, so I can have a meaningful connection. I think that's what this is really about. For a seeker to know, it doesn't have to be perfect. And if we miss, Torah is saying it's okay. Come back. Try again. Let's try and figure things out. So when we have adult B'nai Mitzvah here, people later in life choosing how to live out a Jewish experience on their terms, well, I think that's a lot of what we see in the Torah's text. If we see other people coming back, having a return at any time of their lives, I think that's pretty powerful. And I think that this place is more than about the kids. Kids are great, and we should do everything we can to have a strong youth program and education program. All true, but it can't just be about the kids, because then the kids will grow up and know that it was just about kids. It was a pediatric Judaism. And we need more than that, because life is complicated. And I'm ready to grow. So those kids in our school and youth programs are watching us. So what could it be in the next number of months? Well, that could be a second chance. A Jewish book, something to read, maybe coming to synagogue once in a while, perhaps more than before, maybe taking a class, coming to Torah study. You have to come early, it's getting a little crowded. What could it be for us in our Jewish journeys that can say, I want a Pesach Sheni, a second Passover, an opportunity to experience something powerful and inspiring and be ready to move into my year? What could that be? If you can name it, then let us know and we want to support you in it. If you can't figure it out and you want some ideas, well, we'll take that call too. And let's figure out how to support each other on these journeys and make a Pesach Sheni, a second Passover, a second chance, a do-over if you'd like. How can we make a return, a coming home, a homecoming meaningful?